Hello, little monsters! I'm not sure what you think of when you think of Chinese chicken, but you probably think the same thing I do. That's right, Vincent Price. Actually, there is probably no one who intuitively thinks of Vincent Price when they think of Chinese chicken, but there is a connection. So, you see, Vincent Price once did an ad which included his recipe for Chinese chicken. Now I want to thank the Newlydeads for sharing this post. I'll put a link below on where you can find their stuff. It's a lot of fun. Now, his original recipe calls for 3 whole chickens. We're making only 1, so I'm gonna half the amount of sauce that we're gonna be making, and we'll still have some to spare. Alright, I'm going off script here for a moment. I will confess, I do not make a lot of whole chicken. As a little kid, I didn't even like chicken. So this is a brand new frightening territory for me, which is, I guess, fair for a horror channel, because these things scare the heck out of me. So let's see what happens. Unless I'm mistaken, remember from Alton Brown, you can just take a strong pair of shears and just kind of like hack through the middle here. Why don't they come in halves anymore? I just want half a chicken. This is like an ASMR for pain. Is that supposed to be the color it's supposed to be? I don't know. I don't know these things. Why didn't this recipe call for chicken nuggets? I'm just saying. All right, let's take all the things that look like the wrong color. All right, I'm feeling pretty good about that. Well, that was an experience. We are going to, it says do that with garlic and salt. Got some garlic salt handy right here. Gonna put that in a pan. Let's try face down just so they maybe hold some more moisture in. Let's give that a shot. All right, next up, let us make our sauce. All right, our recipe calls for a 1.5 cups of tomato sauce. Oh, we don't have a can opener. I'm gonna go to the drawer of sharp things. I've just found it a lot handier to just have all the sharp things in one drawer, so that way if you're just fumbling around at 3 a.m. in the morning, I'm not gonna grab anything sharp except for that one drawer. All right, so we're gonna need 1.5 cups of tomato sauce. Now it also calls for 1/2 cup of pineapple juice. And now we get to play with a little bit of our mystery ingredient. Now I was looking over the recipe and it had one particular strange ingredient that you normally can't find some places, and you definitely wouldn't think of using for savory cooking, and that's Angostura bitters. Let me get it. Now this is Angostura bitters. It is a drink bitters, and normally it is, I think, a German style blend, but this company is Italian, but they do a lot of, I think, their production in South America. And if you've never had it before, the flavors are best described as kind of orange and licorice, but it doesn't actually contain any licorice. It's a different type of root that's not used for anything else. But it exists. I first learned about this through a YouTube channel called How to Drink, where Greg, the host, absolutely loves this stuff. So I thought I'd just give it a try and buy some, and saw this recipe online and saw that this is one of the required ingredients. So let's give it a shot. And we need 1/2 tablespoon of it with our current ratio. 1/2 tablespoon. Teaspoon, teaspoon, teaspoon. Why are they all teaspoons? All teaspoons. Why are they all teaspoons? All right, so I'll just have the eyelet. Here is 1 tablespoon. I'll try to do 1/2 of that. If we're a little over, it's okay, because this is the surprise ingredient they're going to be trying. And 1/2 tablespoon of onion powder. All right, let's mix this all up. All right, let's bring it on over to the stove. And next up, it calls for melt 1/4 cup of butter or margarine in a pan. I love that the recipe called for margarine. Remember when people used to think that margarine was good for you? And while it's melting, I'll go ahead and tell you about the next thing I'm going to make. He also said that while waiting for your chicken to cook, to make yourself a new fashioned, which is different than an old fashioned, because I don't know, I guess it's Canadian whiskey and Angostura instead of something else. So I don't have whiskey, I don't even particularly like whiskey, but I do have some Kraken rum. And I'm doing a movie soon which involves beach monsters. So maybe let's do make a new drink with a Kraken instead. Let's see how that works out, shall we? I'm particularly curious where Vincent Price gained this particular recipe. In that, you might not know this, but Vincent Price is not Chinese. That's the elephant in the room there, but he had traveled across the entire world and met with several different chefs, and whenever he liked a particular recipe, he'd ask the chef for the recipe, and they later on made a whole cookbook out of it. So we can definitely say that he's cooked, and he's definitely traveled, probably to China. We can only assume that this is somewhat relevant. My theory is that something about the Angostura bitters, and they're probably going to be very similar to anise, and a lot of Chinese cooking includes anise, so I think it's probably where you're going to get some of those flavors overlapping there. But did someone give him the recipe? Or did he just say, hey, this is Angostura bitters, we want you to make a recipe, and he said, okay, give it to me, and he tasted it and went, alright, let's try it in this. Because orange works with chicken, anise works with chicken, so maybe he said, let's make a Chinese chicken using anise and orange flavors. Next, we're going to add our sauce in. And either I got the entire ratios of butter wrong, or this is a lot of butter in this recipe. I hope so, because butter's great. If you've never seen Julia Child's cooking, you can really sum up her entire experience in 3 words: lots of butter. That was her trick. Just to show you what it looks like, it's kind of seeing 2 different colors there. You can tell this is a real kitchen, because every time you open a drawer, something goes twang. Well, I don't have a brush, so we're gonna have to improvise. Fun! Alright, it looks like it's about boiling and simmering there, which is great. And let's see what it tastes like on its own, shall we? It's stuck on a drawer. Oh no! Let's see what it tastes like, shall we? That is an interesting flavor. The first thing you get is just the tomato. And then you get the other layers start piling in, like a little bit of acid floating in from the pineapple, but it doesn't feel overly sweet. And there's a lot of different things there. Does it taste Chinese? Probably not. But it tastes really interesting. Alright, so in lieu of wish I had a brush, but we'll just have to make do with a spoon. I feel like I'm sponge bathing an old person. Same time next week, Clarence? Okay. Alrighty. Let's pop it in. Now we said cook it for an hour, but that's with 3 chickens, so I'm going to put a thermometer in there, which I should have done before I popped it in. Ha! Live theater. Normally stabbing things is easy. Ooh, get to bring out my new oven mitts. Oven mitts! If you hear any leaking, that's the guinea pigs in the background who immediately assume that any plastic bag rustling is food time. Guinea pig fact number 2. Guinea pigs cannot eat chicken. There we go. And now we wait. Alright, and now we're gonna try our new fashioned, or I guess I could say new Krakened. First off, it asks for dissolve a lump of sugar. No one really has sugar in lumps very often anyway. They all come in packets, so let's go with this. That looks about right. 3 dashes of Ango. I like this stuff, it's tasty. Now, it says a splash of soda. Looks like a bad splash, right? Next, 2 rocks. I do not have rocks, so I'm gonna have to get some ice. Let's use 3 old ice cubes that are not broken up. 2. Real Mickey Mouse operation running here. The only alcohol I happen to have in my freezer, except for some vodka, Kraken. And And why do I have that in here? Because the other night I was watching Dark and Stormy, a good movie starring, I think, Daniel Roebuck, and drinking Dark and Stormies, which involve rum and ginger beer. If you never had one, it's really good. Need about 1.5 ounces, which is just gonna be a little bit shy of this. And a twist, which I've never done before. Let's see if I can make a nice little twist here, shall we? Alright, give it a little twist. That's pretty, right? Let's give it a try, shall we? Oh, this is why I don't drink hard liquor straight. Oh, and there's notes of burning and on fire, with subtle hints of also still on fire. But it's not bad. Joking aside, it starts kind of sweet, and then the alcohol piles in, and then you get this wonderful light bitterness that comes, light bitterness, I know that's an oxymoron, but this kind of little subtle undercurrent of bitter orange that falls underneath it. It kind of tastes like a blood orange, if you remind me of a blood orange. So, not too shabby for what I have lying around. I'm not going to drink this whole thing, because if you think I make no sense sober, you should see me drunk. Alright, so we kept checking on the chicken and adding more sauce as we go. It did take a little bit longer than I expected, so probably about an hour. Even though it's only one chicken, it's almost the same time frame. So let's see how it turned out. The color's not looking bad. Some places it's a little spotchy and pale, in other places it's got a nice little layer on there. So that's pretty good. I'll remind people, I do not have a lot of experience with chicken. I'm not getting a lot of the sauce. I'm a little disappointed. Yeah, I'm just tasting the chicken. So, let me try another bit here, see if we can find a bit with a little bit more sauce on it still. Okay, I'm finally starting to get a little bit of the flavors in there. It's got a beautiful tanginess to it, getting that from the pineapple. I'm getting that wonderful umami, a little bit from the tomato. Not tasting much of the Angostura bitters. It doesn't taste a lot like Chinese food. The best way I can think of is it feels like a bit like a funhouse mirror. Like if you decided to go the exact opposite direction of China, but kind of came around on the other end and still achieve some of the same flavors at the same thing. Like try to recreate a feel of Chinese food without using any of the same ingredients. It still has a lot of the same notes, which is really kind of a neat part. So yeah, I would say this wasn't a complete bust, but I wouldn't call it a complete success either. So the chicken didn't come out quite as well as I hoped. Maybe I did it wrong with the ratio of the butter, or maybe I didn't quite brush it on effectively. I hope you get different results, but guess what? Even if you don't, it's really nice to try new things and experiment and see what life brings you. And when things give you things that you don't expect, don't be bitter. This is Princeton Vice.
If your monster's sad and bitter, or he's feeling like a quitter, see the monster sitter, Mr. Princeton Vice.
Much as I hate to say it, you might want to put your face a little bit closer to the pan.
So lower to the pan, so yeah, just feel the heat there. Oh, feel the burn. Oh, how are ya?